Yes, I've been working on my questions hard all week, losing sleep over these next five I'm about to throw at you guys.
Oh boy.
As always, buy or sells brought to you by Jock Market. Check them out, jockmkt.com. Find them on your app store as well. That promo code DFO50 gets you a $50 deposit bonus. It's US Open weekend. You know me, I'm a big fan of golf majors, and I'm a big fan of wagering on golf majors. So Jock Market is a great way to do that. The first question we got here, the GM of the Year award had some interesting debates around it. You have ZITO, you have Bergevin, you have Lamoriello. I'm going to say ZITO should be the winner of this award. Frank, are you buying? And if you're selling, you got to tell me who you would have as the winner.
I am buying. I think the moves that Bill Zito made, I think just really fit this team. I think he had an idea of what he wanted to go after. You look at some of the additions, even at the trade deadline, people were saying, 2 second-round picks for Sam Bennett. What's going on there? And then he comes in and has the run that he did. I think there were some rocky moments for Bill Zito, some learning experiences. I think the Keith Yandel situation probably spiraled out of control in a way in the beginning of the season that it didn't need to. So I don't think that it was a year without some hiccups, but I think that he put the Florida Panthers back on the map, or at least helped.
Yeah, I'm buying all the way. I just look at the amount of moves he made and what worked. Like when you can sign Verhaeghe, Duclair, and Wenberg for a total of like $5 million and get all the points that you got from those guys, that in itself, because to me, the GM's job is to make his team better and via trades. And then the Sam Bennett trade was cool. Even Nunavara, they gave a fourth rounder, and that guy's, a regular top six defenseman for you every night, all season long. He's not flashy, but he fills a role on your team. And, even they went out and got Gusev, and I know he didn't do much in the playoffs, but down the stretch, he had 5 points in 11 games. Like every big move,
the Hornquist deal as well.
Yeah. Every big move they made seemed to work. But I will say this, Marc Bergevin as a GM, when you look at the Anderson trade, you look at the Edmondson signing, you look at the Toffoli signing, like those are three massive impacts for your team. So I think he's there. I saw a lot of people saying, well, Brisebois should get it. And I'm like, well, why? Because he convinced Kucherov to have the surgery
wait until December. Yeah, right.
Yeah. So I don't like, this is about I think it should be the regular season, because usually it's always guys who are in the conference final. Yeah. And the fact that Bill Zito is in this year and he's not in the conference final
says a lot about what people thought about his year.
So I would go with him, but Bergevin's moves, and I know Bergevin is on the hot seat in Montreal, they've paid off for sure.
100%. Feels like we're starting to get, maybe the ball rolling on a potential Jack Eichel trade, starting to hear about teams involved and all that. I'm going to say Eichel traded before the Stanley Cup is handed out. Jason, you buying or selling?
I'm selling. I don't, it is rare to see massive trades during the Cup finals. Usually Gary frowns upon those type announcements. I know you can do it as long as it's not on a game day, but historically, usually we see big deals the week right before the draft. I think if you're Buffalo and you're the GM, you're going to want to be playing off those other teams, because Jack Eichel's a pretty big name, and you're going to want as much time as you can to make them think. So I will sell.
I'm going to sell. Tyler, I thought you said you were working on these questions all week long. Come on. That's an easy sell. Not before the Cup final. Okay. Too many teams are still holding meetings. I think it's like, right before the draft.
Although, see, before the draft, you could have had me thinking, because look at the Subban and Weber and the Hall trades. Those happened after the draft. So there is that small chance that, because I don't know if a first rounder in this year's draft is like the crucial piece of that Eichel deal.
Doesn't Buffalo think they have an edge or something in this year's draft? All right. One of the teams we're hearing involved in the Eichel talk is the Anaheim Ducks. Also here in the LA Kings, potentially. Sounds like it could be a busy summer in California. I'm going to say that the Ducks are going to be the busiest club this summer out of the three California teams. Frank, you buying or selling?
I'm buying. I think Bob Murray knows that this rebuild hasn't gone as quickly as he might have expected. I think that the clock is ticking, and I think that he's someone that wants to make big moves. Now, whether he can pull them off or not is a different story, but I think there's certainly an appetite to do so.
Now, Ty, this is a good question, because I think all three of these teams might be in the top 5 or 6 busy, because Doug Wilson and the San Jose Sharks, like, they're either going to decide we're going for it one last time. They got to get a goalie. No question.
Need a goalie.
Or if they don't get that, all of a sudden he might move off like one of his big defensemen, right? Like they've got so much money on the back end.
Who's taking one of them?
Well, Brent Burns still has value in my eyes. No question about it. Brent Burns can play. I watch a lot.
If you're Seattle, do you take Brent Burns?
Well, I don't think they would expose Brett. Like that would be awful for you can't lose Brett Burns for nothing. You've got to find a way.
That contract suddenly gives you the space you need to do other things.
Yeah, but he's the best of the three. Right? You got to try to convince Vlasic to waive it, and then I don't think they'll take him. But Brent Burns, if you lost Brent Burns for nothing just to free up cap space, like he's not a guy who's not producing. So I wouldn't do that. But I'm going to say I'm going to sell and say the LA Kings. I think this is the year the LA Kings. They're going to make a big move, and I'm going to go with the LA Kings.
Let's come up to Canada here, where a similar question. I think there'll be a lot of Canadian teams looking to make some changes, but I'll say the Edmonton Oilers will be the busiest of all the Canadian teams this offseason. Jason, you buying or selling?
I guess by sheer volume of moves, I'll say yes, because right now there's Nugent Hopkins, Larson, and Barry, and Smith that are UFAs. Like, they got to sign at least, like, I think Smith's the most likely one, but they got to sign at least one, if not two of those free agents, if they can, forwards. Then they got to fill out the rest of their roster. But when it comes to major moves, I still have a sneaking suspicion the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to try to do something. Because what are they going to do with their goaltender? Because I don't think Jack Campbell's a starting goaltender. I think he's a really good story. I don't think he's a guy who can take it to the conference final or to the final. So I think in quantity of moves, it'll be Edmonton. But I don't. So does that? I guess that qualifies for busiest. But I don't know if they'll make the biggest splash.
I think the biggest splash. I'm gonna sell. You know, you didn't even mention two of the other fascinating teams this summer: Calgary and Vancouver. I mean, I think much like Edmonton, this is a summer that they've been waiting for. Vancouver's in the same boat. Obviously, they need to get their deals done with Pettersson and Hughes, but I think they're a team that, you know, could also potentially be in buyout territory, make a move to free up some cap space, and then, you know, improve their team. And Calgary as well. You know, we've been saying for a while now that it certainly appears that there's no management change coming, that there's going to be a significant change to the core of that team. So in terms of quality over quantity, I would say that, you know, busiest might be in terms of reinventing the core. Calgary is certainly in that mix.
Last one for you here. You touched on Brent Burns potentially to the Kraken. Just on the topic of Seattle, I'm going to say they will land a top free agent this offseason. And I won't throw a name attached to it or anything, but I'll say sort of one of the consensus top 5, 6, 7 free agents this year.
Oh,
one
like
of them
Nuge?
will find a way. One of them will find a way to go to Seattle. Frank, I'll let you go first then. You buying or selling?
I'm buying. I think a lot of people saw how, you know, before, 15, 20 years ago when the NHL last expanded, there was like this dread of going to an expansion team because of how poorly that team was expected to do on the ice. You saw in Vegas, everything changed. You know, that team, hit the ice running. And not only that, but what a fantastic market to live in. I think Seattle has a lot of the same reputation. The fan base is juiced up, waiting list for tickets. That arena is going to be unbelievable, and it's a world-class city. So you add all those things up, plus, a smart management group. I think there's lots of people that are going to be intrigued, especially with a pretty deep free agent class this year. I think there's going to be lots of interest to go to Seattle.
Yeah, I think the flat cap is definitely helping Seattle. I'm reading a book right now called The Psychology of Money. And one of the big things is how a lot of people see things that happened in the past, so they want to mirror it. In a lot of cases, that's not the best path. And so while Vegas had a lot of success, and I'm hearing, having had conversations, the Seattle ownership groups feel like, hey, we're going to be just as competitive as Vegas. Not necessarily make it to the Stanley Cup final in the first year, but that's their goal. So I think they will go out and spend, and I think they will be in a position to offer more money and term than some other teams are willing to do on their free agents. So that'll get them the players they want. But it's funny, if you look at Vegas, their path didn't go after big signing free agents. Nope. Right? They made some astute trades. So it, in theory, would be a little bit different. I think they're going to land one, Tyler. I'm not necessarily certain it's going to be the best decision.
There you go. Those are your 5. That is buy or sell, brought to you by Jock Market. Again, jockmkt.com. And that promo code is DFO50.